It's no secret that politicians lie and most of the time have no idea what they're talking about. They're either willfully ignorant or completely dishonest and weaponize it to create policies that affect everyday Americans in all kinds of negative ways. One of those ways is gun control. Mayor Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, is apparently over in the liar camp and just caught himself in a big one. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's story isn't one of a new gun law being rammed through or the ATF being caught in some dirty deeds, of which we know there are many. Instead, it's a story of a former NYPD captain and former state senator making up a story for money and political clout and then years later getting caught in the lie as mayor. And the lie just so happens to support gun control. In 2009, then State Senator Eric Adams wrote a book that he said was meant to help protect kids everywhere from the dangers of guns, drugs, gangs, and every other fear a parent could possibly have. The book is basically a public service announcement called Don't Let It Happen and features a photo of a revolver in a school lunchbox on the cover. The cover also explicitly states that it's by Eric Adams, retired NYPD captain, with a foreword written by a former principal. The book, which describes itself as a life raft for law-abiding parents, is a combination of statistics, advice, and anecdotes, which right on the very first page Mr. Adams swears up and down is 100% true. Even the childhood story about him shooting a gun at a group of kids at school, which is pretty important as much of his campaign for City Hall was based on the topic of guns, is, according to this book, 100% accurate. Before I get into the details here, this video is brought to you with the help of Blackout Coffee Company, the Florida coffee roaster that supports this channel, veterans, and the Second Amendment, and does it without questionable donations to Democrat politicians or articles in the New York Times bashing their customers. Instead, they partner with some of your favorite gun rights groups and donate to those groups directly. To check them out and help support the channel, go to blackoutcoffee.com/libertydoll. Plenty of Adams's book isn't true, like claiming kids choose malt liquor to get drunk because it has twice as much alcohol content as the same amount of beer. Nor does one find beer in the frozen food section of the grocery store, as one section claims. But if you don't drink or haven't analyzed the alcohol content of malt liquor, that's a pretty easy one to gloss over. Nor is it really all that harmful in the big picture of things. He also gives plenty of no kidding advice, such as advising people that if their daughter falls pregnant, she's sexually active. This one obviously isn't wrong, it's just fucking obvious. But once he gets to the parts about guns in Chapter 8, it is clear that something is amiss. He has a section on the parts of a gun, for example, and says the trigger is in the belly area. In his section on gun safety, he writes, by removing the cylinder of a revolver or clip of an automatic weapon, you've made the gun safe. Two questions here. One, where's the part for semi-autos, which are way more common than revolvers and fully automatic weapons? And two, where's the part about making sure the chamber is empty? This guy is a retired police captain and has skipped a very important step. The anecdotes are also head-scratchers. There's a few that I won't get into, like PCP cornflakes, for example, that make me think he's been hanging out with Joe Biden and corn pop. He also claims that cat pee is slang for crack. If this is true, please tell me, because otherwise it is just hilarious. But the biggest head-scratcher is the one where he claims to have shot a gun at his friends while at school. When I was a child, a friend of mine brought a gun to school, he wrote, to show off to the rest of the students. This was my first time seeing a real gun. After years of playing cowboys and Indians with toy guns, I did not believe the gun he was showing us was real. I laughed at his stupid trick and grabbed the gun from him. If this gun is real, I said, then it should go off. I pointed what I thought was a toy gun at my group of friends and pulled the trigger. A round discharged, and only by the grace of God and my poor aim did the bullet miss my friends. The incident scared me so much that I dropped the gun and ran. The story is supposed to help bring parents to the side of gun control, safe storage, and understanding how owning a gun can destroy their family, as well as the families of other people. It's meant to demonstrate a near-miss school shooting. Except, it's fake. Or at least there were never any news reports on it, Adams never mentioned it in a speech, and now claims that he's never even written a book. Last week, this is pretty hilarious, actually. Last week, an AP reporter brought a copy of the book to Adams' weekly press conference. When confronted, Adams swore up and down that the incident never happened and said that he's never written a book.
Last week, there was an online publication. They unearthed this copy of a book you apparently wrote in 2009 called Don't Let It Happen. You discussed this childhood incident apparently involving a gun.
I'm sorry, can you stand up? I can't hear you.
Yeah. There was an incident where you apparently fired a gun at a school.
I fired.
You said that you fired a gun.
What book is this?
It was called Don't Let It Happen in 2009.
Right.
I never fired. No, I never. Yeah, no, you got to grab it. I'll read it. I never fired a gun in school.
You pointed what I thought was a toy gun at my group of friends and pulled the trigger. A round discharged, and only by the grace of God and my poor aim did the bullet miss my friends.
You said it fired in school.
I believe this was in a school.
I think the person the co-author of the book may have misunderstood the exact. There was an incident in school where someone pointed they thought it was a toy gun, and they may have misunderstood. That book never got into print because we never went through the proofreading aspect of it.
Number 1, the cover does not list a co-author. And number 2, the book is available on Amazon through a Christian self-publishing company. The publisher is under the umbrella of a larger conservative publishing company. Actually, I need to back up and amend that, as it was available on Amazon until Adams pulled it this week. Adams had also published a book through the same publisher the year before, again with a foreword by his partner, Tracy Collins, a former principal. In neither book does he mention a co-author. It is, however, still available at Barnes & Noble's for about $15. And then Adams dodged any other questions about it, but the City Hall press secretary later came out and claimed that the book's co-author, again, misunderstood the story and that the book, listed by Adams and under his name on Amazon, wasn't supposed to be published. Which coincidentally is totally how the publisher and Barnes & Noble's got it. 'Cause it wasn't published. Then City Hall came back and gave a totally different statement, this time claiming that the book was written by a ghostwriter, that Adams had never read or approved the manuscript, and that the book was published without his permission. He claimed that he had no idea that the book was published until the AP reporter questioned him, and then he claimed to have never made any money off of its sales, even though the book comes up on the first page when you Google search his name, and was included in a New York Magazine cover story about Adams in 2021 and a 2022 Politico profile. Reporters then asked, okay, so then who was the ghostwriter that allegedly made up this story? Does the mayor now claim the entire book is fake, or just this one passage? The mayor's office did not answer and has refused to answer any other questions about the book. It's also weird that he would disavow this story after also claiming to have joined a gang at 14. This kind of thing is what I would kind of expect if you are involved in a gang. His gang membership is on his Wikipedia page, and he used his upbringing for brownie points in his political campaigns. So he is not above claiming to have done crime. The book also gives advice on how to find your child's weapon stash, and he made an instructional video with the same information in the book 2 years later, which can still be found on YouTube. But I don't know, maybe that's another ghostwriter deepfake. Anyways, it turns out that Adams has faked other stories in the book and later in his career. He has admitted to several of these over the years and has faced questions about everything from falsely claiming he was beat up by the police as a child to writing a vegan cookbook and later admitting that he isn't vegan. He's also lied a bunch on his taxes and later blamed it on his accountant being homeless. So clearly this is the right man to be running New York City. But don't worry, folks, as Adams himself wrote, every story that he tells is 100% true and accurate. Now, I know on the surface this story might seem pretty silly and doesn't have the same kind of impact as, say, Schrodinger's laptop, which is both stolen material and also planted Russian propaganda at the exact same time. But it does give a little window into the fact that you can't trust a single word coming from a politician and that they'll do and say just about anything to advance their agenda. And, of course, lie about it when they get caught. That one's kind of a given. Alright folks, that's it for this video. I just saw this story and thought it was hilarious and knew that I had to bring it to you guys. You guys know all of the algorithm things. I don't have to tell you every time. Just like, share, subscribe, all of that. And as always, thanks for tuning in and happy shooting.